And now, the International Vienna for everyone. And now, the International Vienna for everyone.
But yourself, you were born in Japan or in Germany?
I was actually born in Switzerland.
In Switzerland?
Yes, in a small village actually. Kanton, Grabskanton St. Gallen, somewhere in Switzerland, German-speaking area. And then afterwards, my father switched jobs every now and then I would go to Germany and Taiwan.
But did you live in Switzerland at all? Or?
Yes, if I remember correctly, I think 4 years, something like 4 years. My father was working for, so he did nanotech.
Nanotech?
Yeah.
Oh. Back then?
Huh? Sorry?
Since back then?
Yeah. So back then was big, right? With TV and other sorts of stuff. So he started off with TV industry in Switzerland. And then we were planning on going to Japan, but then he got a job offering in Germany, I think, yeah. Mm-hmm. In a solar tech. Yeah.
But your father is from?
Germany, yeah. From the Pfalz area. Yeah. I think he was born in Mainz, I think. Mm-hmm. I hope I remember correctly.
And then you lived where? I think you did high school somewhere else, you mentioned?
Yes. So we were then in Düsseldorf in Berlin. And then afterwards, he took a job in Taiwan. Mm-hmm. They create robots that move wafers in vacuum.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. And then, yes, I was around 12, 13 years old. I went to Taiwan. And then, I finished my high school there.
How did your parents met?
Oh, wait. I know that story.
Like where?
Where? I think in Japan, yeah. My dad did an Ausland... Erasmus, right? Uh-huh. An Erasmus in Japan. And I think one of my father's friends arranged a meeting between my parents, yeah.
Oh, and then that's how they met. Yeah. Real life Facebook, your father's friend.
Exactly, yeah.
And you've been to Japan recently, right? You were there last year or this year?
Yes, in September. Last September, I went there for 6 months around.
First time?
First time living in Japan, yes. But I've been in Japan plenty of times. And it was really nice experience. I decided to go there because I wanted to do a data science course, right? Mm-hmm. A boot camp. Because I got into software development recently, a couple years ago.
You probably got that from your father.
Yeah, I mean, my father actually helped me find out what I want to do. Because I started doing my master's, right? And then I was a little bit conflicted. I was doing this and that.
Yeah.
And he helped me out actually to find my interests. And then I went to Japan. It was awesome. Yeah. Met a lot of nice people.
What city you said? You mentioned that before, but I forgot.
Where they met?
What city did you go to Japan for 6 months?
Tokyo.
Tokyo?
Yeah, Tokyo.
Is it chaotic as it seems in movies or?
Yes, it's big. Also,
it's definitely big in Japan, as the song says.
38 million people live in Tokyo area.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. Tokyo has become so big that it started merging with other cities. Mm.
It's like devouring other cities.
Exactly. And there's so many people, the train systems are very efficient, but very long. I lived in the outskirts with my grandparents. And every time I wanted to go into the city, it took me an hour with a train that was really fast, right? Not the Shinkansen, though, just a normal...
What's that one, the Shinkansen?
The Shinkansen is one of the fastest trains in the world, which are really insane. You can get from Tokyo to Kyoto within 2 hours or so. And it's a lot
How far does it go? Because I don't know how far Tokyo is from Kyoto.
I don't want to be wrong, but I think at least 400 kilometers.
Fucking hell.
Something like that.
Well,
something like that, yeah.
Japan is popular for having it's the country where the people use most public transportation in the world. And actually, the second one is Austria.
Yeah, I think so because they have to. Because it's so big. And if you travel by car, it just takes forever. If you like going from the top to the bottom.
I don't know. It's the same thing, for example, in the US. It anyway takes a lot of everyone owns a car in the US because it's so big, and if you live in suburbs, you can go anywhere without a car. But that's because there's no public transportation.
No.
So it's probably something in Tokyo. Maybe it's something they like to do. Is it just in Tokyo that the public transportation is so good, or is all over Japan?
Oh no, it's also good. I was in Osaka and Kyoto, also very good there. But I mean, Kyoto is not really like a big business city. It's more like a cultural city.
Tokyo?
Kyoto. But I was in Osaka. The public transport was also amazing. Yeah.
Where does all this anime inspiration come from? There are a lot of people that are so curious. Why is that? They are so great, and it's so original. No one else can do it except Japanese.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I also like anime, and I love the Ghibli movies, right? I don't know. They just have some sort of appeal, I guess.
But when you go there, you see something that say, "Oh, that's why they do anime so good." Is it something that makes you think that?
I guess it's very mainstream in Japan. There's a lot of stores, a lot of even advertisements also based around anime. And
but the imagination in general, like every anime is so original and creative. They just build worlds, they are not just beautifully drawn. Their world is so amazing. I don't know, is there something that makes you think, oh, that's why they are so creative in animes? Or I don't know, they do drugs, or I don't know, whatever. Is there a common drug used there that we don't know about?
No. I don't know, actually.
Because they are also so deep. They are not superficial at all. They are deep. So is it common then for Japanese to be people that think deep they go deep into thinking, that they dig before they speak? So how is it when you talk to a random person in Japan? Is it on average that you get very superficial conversation, or they have knowledge about a lot of things? Like
okay. The problem in my case is my Japanese is not very good. I can basically communicate on a low level, like going out, talking, like conversation.
Yeah, like me in German.
Very likely much less.
Okay.
And sorry, 1 second.
That's okay.
I'll put it on. 1 second. Yeah. But so I did converse with many Japanese people, random Japanese people, also like on the streets, also when going out drinking, because they're very friendly, very open, especially when you go to places to drink, right? But I wasn't able to get into any deep talks because of the issue also being that Japanese people, they may understand English well, but they're very bad at talking, like communicating back.
Yeah, I heard that Japanese people don't speak a lot of English.
Yes.
Do they never feel the need to leave the country or to get knowledge from abroad? Or how is it? Why they are so isolated within themselves? They don't miss anything there? That's why?
I don't know. I think Japanese people love their country a lot. Like in Japan, number one, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I would say that for Austria as well. Definitely. But
I guess
they do speak English in Austria.
Yes. That's actually very surprising. Vienna, a lot of people speak English.
Yeah.
Like many courses in my master's, like around half of them are taught in English. But it's different in Japan. In Japan, when I was there, I mainly communicated in Japanese. And sometimes I would speak in English. They would understand it, but they wouldn't be able to talk back that well. And yes, and you can also see that the Japanese people, they love their country a lot, and also in a way they don't want to leave. And I've heard from people that that's actually kind of an issue.
That people don't leave the country?
No, actually, that's something else I wanted to talk about. But sorry, I got confused.
Okay, that's okay.
So,
do, for example, students think of, all right, I'm doing the bachelor degree in Japan, but I want to do masters abroad because I want to learn something else and learn different cultures?
I haven't met many people like that. There's one person actually who actually came over to Vienna recently. He's living with me for 2 months now because he wants to experience Europe.
Oh, the one you went in Prague with?
Yes, exactly. He actually wants to leave Japan. He's getting sick of Japan. That's his words. And he wants to like live in Europe now. And he loves sausage and ham and pasta. And he actually hates ramen, which is very interesting. So, I mean, I guess there are individuals, but I would say that Japan is kind of, I don't know if I want to say isolated, but they're very Japanese. Like the country, there's a lot of Japanese people, not so international. Although I've heard of people wanting to go to Japan because, Japan.
It's very curious to visit.
Yes, exactly. But there's also the fact that Japan doesn't make it easy for people to immigrate into Japan.
To immigrate, definitely not, especially if it keeps being popular that English is not a very common language to speak there, because that's the first thing how people are going to get along. And I thought that few people only will start learning Japan for a 2-year masters or for a 1-year contract in Japan. But it's also, I heard that a lot of people go there to teach English.
Yes.
And they do go in a lot of other places in Asia to become English teachers.
Yes, I actually, when I went to the boot camp, right, I actually met a lot of people who left US, for example, England, Europe, to go to Japan because they wanted to live in Japan to become English teachers, right? But then obviously over time, living there, they realized that English teachers don't get paid that well. So they actually try and go back.
Because they don't care about English, so that's why they don't pay them.
I guess, yes. And then, so a lot of people who also came from a tech background. One person who actually studied physics.
Just try to keep the microphone in front of you. You can keep your head where you want, just pull the microphone by your... There you go. Yes, exactly.
So I met one person. I think she studied physics or something tech related, and then went to Japan to become an English teacher. And then over the many years, obviously, the tech background got weaker, and then the person didn't get paid that well and want to go back into tech, right? And that's why they actually joined that boot camp to like reignite their tech capabilities. And yeah.
Do you meet with other Japanese people in here? Do you want to meet them? Are you curious about the community of Japanese people in Vienna, or there aren't any?
Yes, actually, when I came to Vienna, I was hoping to like make some Japanese friends, find Japanese people, because I speak Japanese, right? And I actually wanted to like keep up with it and not lose it. And it was hard though, because when I went to the uni, I was like the only Japanese person. There were other Asians too, right? One person from he had Chinese roots. I befriended him It was really cool, but no Japanese people. There was one person at the Mata Uni I would sometimes come in contact with, but I would have loved to like be part of like some Japanese community or like connect with some Japanese people. Yeah.
How do you feel about the fact, because it's very common for people who at least have never been to Asia, but who don't know the differences between different countries of Asia very well, that when they see an Asian looking person, they just go by naming Chinese. It's very common.
I guess, yes. I would say, I mean, you could say that maybe, but in my environment, especially because also students, right, who are more progressive, that didn't come up that often. They would rather like ask before they would assume where I would come from. Yeah.
Well, maybe not to say it to you in front, but they usually can say it for another person who is not even in the conversation. And when you hear that, there was a Chinese guy coming out yesterday or something. So when they talk about a person who is not there, or there were 5 Chinese people in the center or in this building, and which they don't know if they were Chinese or not, but they most probably are going with the definition by their look, right?
I mean, I guess.
For Japanese, is that, how does it feel? Is it offensive, or you don't care, or whatever? How does it feel?
I mean, to me, I don't think it's that offensive, but I would understand obviously if it's offensive, but I would also understand from the perspective of Asians, they wouldn't be able to distinguish between French people, German people, English people, probably from the looks, right? So, I mean, I think when I was in Japan, a similar thing would also happen, where they would maybe assume a group of Americans when it's actually British people. So in a similar way, but also like in a sense of racism and stuff, I haven't really felt any direct racism here in Vienna.
No, yeah, definitely. And even people who just say Chinese, I'm sure they're not being racist. It's just something that a lot of people are used to say in common, and somehow it's understandable because it's the biggest country in Asia. So also the chances that those people are actually from China is higher, right? And it's pretty much understandable. But how it goes with the languages because to people who are not from Asia, the Asian languages sound a lot like the same. But do they within Asian countries sound the same, are understandable? Can you spot the differences, for example, between Chinese, Korean?
Yes.
You yourself, I mean.
So yes, me myself, I can distinguish the languages from hearing, because I've heard a lot of Chinese, I've heard a lot of Korean and Japanese and stuff. But very interestingly is the text writing of Chinese and Japanese. They are somewhat similar. Obviously, they're not 100% the same. But my mom, she's Japanese, right? And when we were living in Taiwan, she actually started learning Chinese a little bit. And the writing part was actually very easy to learn for her, because many characters, or like at least some characters, would actually be similar.
You write vertically, right, in Japanese?
Yes. And I think from right to left as well, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
I also, how do you lock the doors in Japan? From a wall side? Because I met a lot of people from Asia when I worked in a hotel, and they used to come to the reception and say like, I'm locked outside. And slowly I started to understand that they weren't actually locked outside. They were just locking or unlocking the door from the opposite side. So they were trying to open the door by rolling it on the wall side, right? And we open from the left side here in Europe.
Yeah.
To unlock it, we unlock it from the right to the left. And they were trying to unlock it from the left to the right.
Okay.
So that's why I'm asking, how are doors locked or unlocked in Asia, or maybe in Japan? Or
I actually haven't noticed that. I mean, the front door for my grandparents is a key, but I don't remember which way it was.
Then it's probably the same as here, if you haven't spotted any difference.
Yeah, I mean, me myself, I haven't, but maybe there's.
And with your grandparents over there, you communicate in Japanese, right?
Yes, with my mom, I speak Japanese and English, and also sometimes German, but mostly Japanese. I try. And with my dad, German. And if we have like some family discussions, mostly English. Yes.
And your mom lives still over there?
Yes. So my dad still lives in Taiwan, working for the company, right?
Okay.
That I mentioned earlier. And my mom, she's taking over like a real estate agency in Japan from my grandfather. But it's just a small five-person group around. And they're currently in different locations, but they see each other every couple months.
How did you end up in Vienna?
So that's actually a funny story. I actually wanted to go to Germany, study there. However,
you have a German citizenship, right?
Yes, exactly.
And Japanese or no?
Yes.
Both?
Yes.
Okay.
So why I'm in Vienna, right? So I wanted to study physics at Heidelberg in Germany, but I had an issue with my international baccalaureate certificate, my Matura, right? It was not, so I'm missing the English word anerkannt.
It wasn't recognized?
Yes, something like that. Yeah, like it wasn't recognized because I had one subject which was called Information Technology in Global Society, which was an awesome subject, right? Taught by a teacher about how IT influences society, which, today is like, it's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like influencing everything. So, but the problem was somehow that it was not recognized. So I could not study in Germany unless I would go to school again for 1 year, or I would go to a different university which accepts my international baccalaureate. And then after 2 semesters, I could transition to Germany, to Heidelberg. So this was actually initially my plan. So I went to Vienna and started physics there, thinking 1 year later I'm going to Germany. But then I met so many nice people, I made so many friends, and the university was also fun and amazing, also challenging. So I just decided to stay, and it was a great decision.
What are you studying now? Did you finish this 1 year physics that you said, right?
Sorry.
Did you do this 1 year physics that you said here in Vienna?
Yeah, and I just
now
continued.
What are you studying? Are you still studying?
Yes. Well, I finished it basically. I did the 1 year, right? And a bachelor's is like 3 years around.
Uh-huh.
That's like the Mindeststudienzeit side. Obviously, you can take longer. And then I just after the 1 year, I just decided to just stay and just finish my bachelor's here.
Okay, so now you're doing bachelor now.
Well, I finished my bachelor's in 2021.
Uh-huh.
I think, yeah. And then I started my master's. And then I got a little conflicted, right? Didn't know in which direction I wanted to go. And then I did my the data science bootcamp in Japan, which was not related to my university.
Uh-huh.
So currently I'm in between my master's right now. Yeah.
But you are, so to define what you do, is that you are a data scientist. That's your thing? Is that your main thing?
Well,
how would you like to be defined?
I'm actually in the transition right now. I'm technically, I would say I'm a physicist because, I'm studying physics, doing my master's in physics.
That must be fucking hard.
I mean, yes, I understand why people say that, but to me, it's not that hard because I like it. It's like my thing, right? I like doing math. I like solving differential equations and all that stuff, and it's fun, right? On the other hand, I could never write essays. 10-page essays every week. I could never do that.
That's how Vienna is, right?
Yeah, because I heard like someone studying something like philosophy of German, they have to write like 10-page essays every week. I could never do that. I would see that as hard and physics as easy in comparison, right? And so back to the data science thing. So now I'm doing like a lot of like software projects, data science related things. And yes, I guess I'm transitioning, but right now I would say I'm like kind of both, and we'll see what the future has for me. Yeah.
Do you plan to live here for the rest of the life, or like for how long, or would you move out of Vienna for a better option?
So in broad terms, I would love to live everywhere. I would want to go everywhere. I want to right now I want to live in Spain and Portugal at one point.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
Because of climate.
Yeah. And but in general, right now, I think I'm going to stay here in Vienna for a little while because of, the DigiLabs startup thing we're doing. That might make me stay a little longer, and I want to finish my master's here in Vienna as well. Yeah.
What are the opportunities? Well, maybe there are a lot, but I really don't know them. When you study physics, what comes after? Like, you're going to be part of research?
Yes. So there's basically...
when you finish, you are a scientist, right? That's the title.
Yes.
I guess, it's Wissenschaft, right? So then what do you do?
So basically, you can either go into academia or into the industry, right? Academia would be, you would do PhD and then postdoc, and then you can be like a professor.
Do your researches.
You do research, and like recently in quantum stuff, Anton Zeilinger, he won the Nobel Prize. Yeah. So yeah, you can go into that direction, right?
I guess that was very inspiring, right?
Yes. Sadly, I'm not doing a lot of quantum stuff. Yeah, I'm actually doing the other things, but yeah.
Which one is the thing that you're doing? How does it differ from quantum? And this is a very honest question because I have zero knowledge about physics.
So I'm doing a lot of I'm doing environmental science stuff and relativity and computational physics. And so environmental science is just stuff about the environment, particle physics, aerosol physics. And computational physics is just doing some simulations. I'm just going to throw in some terms, Monte Carlo simulations and all that stuff, molecular dynamics. I mean, right now I'm going to calculate the autocorrelation function of velocities
Mm-hmm.
of some particles, something like that. That's like one of my homeworks I have right now, Übungen. And then relativity is stuff like cosmic physics, like
Well, isn't that already solved? Einstein said everything is relative. Why do we need to research it anymore? It's done. Now let's find something else.
I mean, the thing is, it's very complicated. But yes, the theory, right? Einstein created this theory, and it works, right, in many things. But what they're trying to do is they want to combine quantum theory and relativity together.
To bring what?
To have basically the one theory covering everything, because quantum theory...
Oh, that's the theory of everything that
I
the
guess.
book comes from, right? Or it's not that one?
I don't think so. I haven't read the book, but isn't that the Stephen
Hawking? Yeah.
I think I've seen the movie, but I haven't read the book. No.
Okay.
But basically, quantum mechanics is like the physics in like microscopic stuff, like very, very small things. And relativity is the theories of like bigger things, fast things, light and stuff. And then they kind of want to bring it like together. Yeah. But that's not my...
But why?
Because if you can do so, then basically... But that's the problem with physics. There's not one physics, right? There's multiple theories. And then obviously like these theories work to some certain extent, and then you can apply it to tech and to the society. Nice ways,
or destroy them, societies and worlds and universes, galaxies,
probably. But I guess that's always like in physics. You just want to find out more. You want to be able to describe the universe consistently, I guess. Yeah.
I was reading just today that there was a recent whistleblower in the US who came out of a department in the American intelligence service, not CIA, something else, I think. And he said that they have proof in their labs. They have captivities of alien spaceships or stuff like that. I don't know if you read that. It's like pretty recent from yesterday.
Oh, I haven't.
And the guy was saying that the pieces are there, but the government hides it. Well, there have always been people saying this all the time during the years since Roswell in 1940, I think, where it's supposed to be the most famous hypothesis of the place that aliens landed on Earth, which somehow was in the US, where it's always been, because they want to make contact only with the US. They hate the rest of the world, aliens do. But you have studied physics, and I hate that people still ask around, do you believe in aliens? Like they say, do you believe in dragons? Like, is it also to you so common that are other species or beings outside our world? Or, I mean, because to me, yes, for example, why should we think that there are? Why are we the only ones in the universe?
Right. Yeah. But I think so too. I mean, the universe is so big, so vast, right? I mean, I think even, statistically, obviously, there should be life somewhere else as well.
But do you think they have reached Earth and made contact, or?
I don't know. I mean,
because then comes the point: are they more intelligent than us? Are they more stupid than us? Then people say they are definitely more intelligent than us. Be the pyramids. I don't know. There's a lot of things going on.
I guess if they were able to reach us before we reach them, they must be more intelligent than us, right? Because
so that makes sense.
Yeah. So and then I hope they're not hostile, right? Because I mean, if you compare our civilization 100 years ago, right now our tech is magnitudes far more advanced than 100 years ago, right? So like if the aliens would have like, I mean, we don't know how much more advancement they have, right? They could be miles away. So
I'm really, really curious if we ever got in touch with them, like when they were here, and what did they say? What could an alien say when they come? A team of aliens? What language how do they communicate? Because we have this impression that they are basically like, they even look like us. They just a bit different with a round head and more ugly, but they still have 2 arms, 2 legs, and a body and a head. So this is what I think it's just Hollywood.
Yeah, definitely.
Because there might also be much bigger or different shapes.
Yeah.
I'm very curious how they can communicate though with us.
Oh,
And this what makes me come back to this guy, the whistleblower, that probably also the people from our Earth, have developed sort of a communication language or way to talk to them, or I don't know, because even science, even if you don't speak with a language, with a spoken language, if you do science, if you do lights, sounds, how do you define that they will understand it? Because they are not used to a red light meaning dangers, for example.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, there's a nice movie, right, called The Arrival. Have you seen it?
I heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
That's basically like the movie's about alien contact, right? Like aliens coming and then them trying to communicate.
And how do they do? What does the movie say?
So like in the movie, I don't know why, but they involved a bird somehow. But
they evolved the birds?
Yeah, there was a bird like in the background. I never understood that part. But what they did was like they tried to just describe the basic words first. They started off with like describing what is, right? Like they pointed, for example, at an apple and they said apple and all that stuff. And then in return, the aliens would also say something. It was like something visual. They didn't.
So in the movie, they do make contact.
Yes, they do make contact and they try to communicate. But then it was, fiction. In the end, somehow their minds intertwined and then she understood something was...
If you think about it, when this movie Contagion that became again popular during the pandemic, it was a movie about a pandemic. And when you see the movie, if we had no idea about the pandemic, we'd definitely say what you just said is just fiction. But once the pandemic happened, then, well, goddamn it, that's not fiction anymore. That's how it happened. So probably also the movies about aliens are just fiction until we see that for real and say, wow, the movie was real. We should make birds now communicate with aliens. They will most probably come to Vienna, though. It's the most livable city in the world. Why shouldn't they?
And also very international, right?
Very international. Yeah, we speak a lot of languages here. So something else I wanted to ask you. It's because I'm very still interested about Japan, and I'll go back that again. And I asked you before, but I want to rehear it. What is it? Tell me something about the high discipline there's, because are there samurais anymore?
I don't think so. I don't think samurais exist.
What is the samurai? What is the samurai thing? It's like it was the national soldier, protecting the king.
Yes. So if I understand it correctly, or like remember it correctly, there was a time before the British people influenced Japan. So like there was a time like in the Edo time, there were like shoguns, right? The kings. And then there were the samurai, the soldiers of the kings, right? And then in the entirety of Japan, there was often inner conflict. And then obviously like one clan wanted to rule the entirety of Japan and so on. And then eventually at one point with the influence of Britain, I don't know if I'm sure, them bringing in like the gun tech.
Okay.
Eventually, I think then Japanese imperialism started, and then they started killing off all the samurai.
Oh,
and then
that's how the harakiri started.
Oh no, the harakiri thing always existed. I don't know, but like it existed before that. Harakiri is like this self-suicide
with a katana, right?
Yes, because it's basically the concept of I'd rather kill myself than the enemy kill me.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I said if it was popular when the British came, and I better kill myself than the enemy kills me.
Yes, probably that as well. But it was also before when two clans would fight, and
I read that because the katanas, the samurai swords were so famous worldwide and so good. I think by the end of the 19th century, they were banned. They couldn't be produced anymore. So they went basically illegal. There were no more factories, no more people. I mean, there were no factories, but people couldn't craft them anymore. So that's how Japan started manufacturing knives. Because it's the same people who were doing katanas before. Katanas was banned, so that was the only thing they knew how to do. So they started doing kitchens. Now they are commonly used knives that are commonly used in kitchen. I mean, and that's why still Japanese knives are the best for like kitchen knives. And so that was a very interesting fact, and they're very expensive. So next time you go in Japan, maybe you get me one over there.
yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
Because but tell me about their discipline. Why is it? I told you a story once about how some people I knew went to a bar, and they had booked they had put the table for 8 people. Then there were 7, and the waiter was so mad because they didn't show up in 8; they showed up in 7, and there was a mess. They almost didn't want to have them anymore in the bar. Is this discipline also reflected in countries' development? Are people in everyday life like that, or is it just business wise?
Yeah, I guess I would say like Japanese people don't like to break rules and stuff, and like don't want to be an inconvenience to like others. So it's great in a way, of course, like they want to be nice to others, they don't want to inconvenience. So I guess I would understand the waiter being mad if somehow it turned into an inconvenience, I'm guessing. But yes, but in a way, the Japanese people are they're not rule breakers, right? They're very, I don't want to really say it, but I feel like a lot of people, especially when I went on those trains, like people are very, I don't want to say it.
Say it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we don't have audience in Japan right now.
I would say to a certain extent sheepish, as in following rules, and they don't want to be different. Like when I went to in the train, obviously there are always individuals, right? But the most people like always wear black and like white, and they all sit very intrinsic. And what else can I say?
Are they noisy?
They're not noisy at all, not an inconvenience at all. We follow like all the rules. Which is also great in some sense, right? But I saw like a lack of diversity, like also like the hair and
same haircut.
Yes, mostly.
Well, it's pretty much also like that. Also in Vienna right now, everyone has this haircut with shorter hair on the sides and longer hair on top. Yeah, and the beard. So
yes. And then it also reflects to the working environment that Japan has, which I dislike, which also my mom told me, if you ever want to work in Japan, do not go to a Japanese company, work for a foreign company. Out of the reason where the old people have like higher management positions, CEOs are very old. It's very conservative. It's all about loyalty. It's more important to be loyal to the company than to be performing well, right? And it's bad to like lose your job or like switch jobs and all that stuff. And if you don't come from a STEM background, when you apply for a job, you don't actually apply for a job, you apply for a company.
Oh yeah, you told me this.
Yeah.
What's actually crazy weird thing again?
Yeah, like my friend, literally a Japanese friend studying in Osaka, one of the humanities science. He told me that if he finishes university, he's not going to apply for a job. He's going to apply for a company. And
so someone wants to get a job and he sees a list of companies and just applies to the companies like, hey, this is what I do. These are my skills. What do you have for me?
Exactly. And then they'll put you in sales or they put you in marketing.
No matter what you've studied or?
Exactly. Like depending. I mean, let's say if finance, probably you need someone who did math or something, obviously, or like, that's why like STEM, when you like technical, if you're like a data scientist or like robotics, then obviously you apply for a robotics job. But, humanities, if you study stuff like, languages and you don't want to become a teacher or like some other things where, there's no like concrete job title, I'm guessing. You just apply for a company rather than a position. And then
but how does this apply in small companies, for example? Because small companies, for sure, they have job positions. They can just take people and then distribute them, because it's, let's say, a company with 10 employees. So how do you apply there?
Maybe in that case, you would apply for a concrete job.
So maybe it's corporates who do that.
Yes, but like big companies, like like you want to work for Toyota or something, and then you just apply. Yeah.
I was looking the other day. I think it was a documentary about the banking system. I told you about this, that bank transactions in Japan have very, very high fees, even among Japanese banks, and sometimes even among accounts of the same person within the same bank. So if I want to, let's say, send money from my Giro account, how do you call it, like the regular account, to my saving account, I pay a fee within my account. That's what the Japanese is. That's what they say. And which is weird, because it's so developed country, like everyone knows it as a very, very developed country, but then it's this one, and it's not very effective. And also, on the other hand, I saw that, how do you say it about the old CEOs? I saw big corporates that they use fax. Yeah. That you also confirm this, right? They don't send emails, they send faxes.
Yeah, they still use fax, yeah.
So in our head, especially people who've never been to Japan, we think like you go in Japan, everyone wears these Apple Vision Pro glasses, VR.
Flying cars and all that stuff.
But actually they use faxes still.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that they have they have like some awesome new tech systems, but then they're also using old systems. And then you're right. The issue might be because many Japanese companies are still very conservative, and old people are in power, that they are not driven to implement new systems.
But is it common that the government corruption? Or you don't know about this?
I don't really know much about that side.
But you mentioned that you can easily spot, for example, Yakuza guys. The mafia.
But that's because of tattoos.
Because they're identifiable in tattoos, public, right?
Yes, and that's very interesting. So, like, yes, Yakuza, they have like these specific tattoos. From what I heard, like, they're like, you can have different levels in the Yakuza, right? Different positions.
It's like a corporate.
Right. And so like, and then based on that, you have like only arm tattoos, or like you start with your back or your chest. And I think
are they all the same tattoos that everyone does, or?
Oh, I don't think so. So. But like the style is always similar. And then I think the daimo, if I'm saying that correctly, the leader of a Yakuza group or clan or corporation, they have like full body. I think so. Full body tattoo until like the wrist and the neck, so that if they wear a suit, you can't see the tattoos. Yeah. But like obviously under it, you have the tattoos. And because of that, there are actually rules in public bathhouses that you cannot enter the bathhouse if you have a tattoo, right? Because then obviously if there's people with full body tattoos, then other people will feel uncomfortable because they would think the person is from Yakuza.
But they are Yakuza, they're the mafia. Do they care about the rules of a pool?
I mean, no, that's the thing. Like, if you have a tattoo, you can't go inside. So,
yeah, can they just be aggressive and go inside and say, "Hey, open up, Yakuza, dude"?
I mean, I guess, but like, nobody really would want to say I'm Yakuza, right? Because it's like a criminal.
Well, maybe not that, but they could say, "Do you know who you're talking to?" And it's probably people who understand who they're talking to.
I guess. I mean, in that case, I'm thinking that the businesses would back down and let the person in. But yeah, I mean, the police could also be called in, and so I mean it's risky, I guess. I don't know, but
is it like a fear cloud going on in what areas do they mostly operate? Tokyo or all over Japan?
Oh, definitely more in Osaka than Tokyo.
Osaka, yeah. So is it like a fear cloud in Osaka that we shouldn't do this because maybe the Yakuza? Or they just like an independent corporate, they mind their own business and they don't bother anyone who's not on their shoes? Or
I mean, I don't know, maybe they do the fear thing, right? But, I mean, one thing that you can actually see is in Shinjuku, in Tokyo, there are these bars where there's like, beautiful ladies and like, and then there's like guys that try to invite you in and be like, oh, the first beer is free, blah, blah, blah. Like they try to trick you. And then after the first beer, the second beer is like what, $50 or $100, or like they somehow manipulate you in a way where you somehow buy their services, and it's like highly overpriced. And then they have like 2 big bodyguards who won't let you out until you pay. So like they have those like scammy bars in Shinjuku. So like usually when people invite you into places in a fishy way, you shouldn't go in there. And they target foreigners, right? Because they know they have money, right?
I also heard and read somewhere, I have absolutely no idea how true this is, that's why I'm asking you, but that prostitution has become a real problem in Japan, but not in the sense that as is becoming a problem because it's being spreaded, but because there are a lot of prostitutes being murdered.
I don't know anything about that, sorry.
Well, that's what I read. Maybe it's not true, or maybe it is. Or I mean, does the media cover a lot of things over there that they show, or you never followed?
The problem
Japanese
is like
media?
I can't really follow Japanese media because it's in Japanese, right? And I struggle reading and writing. I can communicate with friends and maybe I find out what's going on, but like I can't read the news in Japan. No.
Are you interested to know other people from Japan here and to get along with them?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Oh, maybe they will hear this.
Sorry?
Maybe they will hear this.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully they won't get mad for me, trash talking Japan a little bit. No, but like Japan is a great country, but I feel like on the media online, it's a little bit overrated. It's a great country to visit. Okay. It's awesome for tourism, awesome for foreigners to go there for a couple months, have fun. The people are really nice. And the food is amazing. They have really cool stuff. The shrines are beautiful. Kyoto is amazing and all that stuff. But there are downsides if you want to live there. There are definitely some downsides.
The salaries are not good?
Yes. For example, the salaries are not really that good. Yes.
And the housing, they are famous for having small apartments, right?
Yes.
People live like almost in matchboxes.
Yes, no, definitely. The apartments are very small. Like the apartment for my grandparents was a much smaller than your apartment. We would be there 4 people and 1 dog.
Wow.
But now that my mom can afford it, she's getting her own place close by. But yes, it's very, very common thing that apartments are very small. Yeah.
Is it just that people can't afford bigger apartments, or that there aren't bigger apartments because of the population?
Yes, I think because of the population. It's so dense.
They don't have this physical space to make bigger apartments, right? They have to fit so many people in so little space.
Yeah, I'm assuming that there are bigger apartments, but then those are then automatically more expensive. But I think the norm is much smaller. The apartments are much smaller.
People work a lot of hours in the day and they just go to sleep in apartments. Is it common to work 12 hours a day per person or no? Like in the US, for example.
I don't know. I'm guessing there are some like rules, right? Or like some norms, 40 hours, 45 hours. I don't really know. But there's a story I heard from an American woman who did the course with me. She said that her husband, who's Japanese, that the company was exploiting him. Like he would clock in and clock out, right, to do his hours of work at the company. But the chef told him to, the boss told everyone to clock out and afterwards always have a 1.5 hour meeting. So basically overtime that's not being paid. And like stuff like that, That's another thing you don't expect from Japan. Yeah. But it's basically, I mean, it's not all companies, right? And I think these foreign companies or like these Japanese companies transitioning their work culture into Western style. They probably don't do that stuff, but there's some, it's just like that. Yeah. There's some work ethics being broken in Japan, I think. There's also other stories I heard of like people who I have a friend in Japan who's doing a practicum. some work experience, right? And she knows 2 other people who are doing overtime, and they're not getting paid, but they're too afraid to ask to be paid for the overtime as well. It's like there's also this fear, because if you lose a job, it's very bad in Japan. Like here in Europe, you get fired or you switch jobs. It's completely normal, right? And like if you say you got fired, like it's not devastating. Yeah. It's just something that happens, right? Yeah. But in Japan, it's something else. If you get fired, it's bad.
Wow.
So like,
But it still happens. Like it's a common thing, even though it's bad, or people don't usually get fired in Japan. You have to be really, 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 really bad to get fired.
That I actually don't know, but no, I actually don't know that. I'm guessing not, right? Oh yes, another thing I want to mention that was really crazy. Yeah. So my friend I was talking about who did the work experience, she, if I'm remembering correctly, she's doing something like international business, studying that, right? And then she did the work experience at Moss Burgers in management position, some work experience, blah blah blah, and then they told her if she wants to work for that company, right? Because she was good or something. Yeah. She would have to work as she would have to work in one of the fast food chains. Moss Burger is a fast food chain, as a cook or like as a cashier for like a couple years before she can even get promoted to that job position. What? I think it's because of like something like loyalty or like commitment. Even if you have the expertise for management positions or like other things, you would have to go through a couple years of
the logic makes sense, but why a couple of years? Maybe a couple of weeks,
right? To see. Yes, or I understand.
Let's say 2 months. A couple of years.
It's crazy, yeah. And that's why she was like, "No, of course not." Like, yeah.
And how was high school in Taiwan?
I didn't.
What language do you speak there?
In Taiwan, you speak Chinese, yes, and then some people speak a little bit of English, a little bit of Japanese, a little bit of Taiwanese.
How did you go to school there? What language did you speak in your school?
In my school, I was in a European school.
Okay. So you spoke English?
Yes, mostly English. And for the first few years before I went to high school, so between 12 and, 15, 16, right? I was in the German section. So I was actually having most of it in German, and some of it in English. And then afterwards I transitioned to the high school section, the British section, and then it was mostly English. Yeah. And yeah, I think the school was very Western, so I can't really
How was life in Taiwan outside school? Or you didn't have to, let's say, witness it a lot because you were with your father and just getting along with other international people, and did you really happen to taste the things we might hear about Taiwan, the chaotic one, the poor sides of Taiwan?
Not really. So I had a lot of international friends, but also some Chinese friends. But it was also in a way where, like in the school was made for. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about this.
Okay.
Because
feel free to not talk about it if you don't want to.
But like, okay, let me just say one part of it. Okay. So like I also had like Chinese friends, Taiwanese friends, but they were rich, right? And so I didn't really see that side of Taiwan that much. Obviously, each country has the poor side and other side, right? But I would go to night markets, right? I would go to these traditional night markets, eat stuff like stinky tofu, blood pudding, like some crazy stuff, classic Taiwanese stuff. And I would go to clubs, right, and see meet some other people outside of my school. And other than that, not really. And something I really regretted was actually up until a couple months before I left Taiwan for Vienna, I wouldn't actually like engage with the Chinese Taiwanese cuisine as much. Okay. I had a lot of home cooking from my mom, delicious food. I would go to McDonald's and stuff, Chili's, pizza, and all that stuff. I hate myself for that because in the last few months before I left, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go eat some Chinese traditional hot pot, mala hot pot. It was delicious.
You're great. You didn't do that the whole time?
No, I regretted it. I mean, I lived there for like 5 years, and oh my God, I regretted it so much. And every time I go back to Taiwan, I only eat Taiwanese Chinese food and never go eat pizza, pasta, and all that stuff, right? But damn, back then I was very.
When was the last time you went to Taiwan?
Last time I went to Taiwan was this February, actually.
You were there this year?
Yeah.
To visit your father?
Yes, to visit my father, and then I went to his company for a couple of days to see what they're doing.
Whatever happens here, do you think you still have a job at the company where he works? Like a safe place, like however goes in Vienna, you still can go back in Taiwan and to get a job there because you probably know a lot of people there as well.
I mean, the last time I went there, right, and interacted with some of his employees. One person, his name is Barry, and he was an awesome dude, a really cool dude. We basically conversed, and I did some stuff with him. We had some what's it called? Like when you go to like a company, first 2 weeks you learn stuff, right?
Like a trial, a training?
A training program. So I did part of the training program, and then Barry was like, yo, and I basically showed him that I can do some stuff, like software related stuff. And he was like telling my dad, we should employ your son. That was pretty funny. But so basically, I guess I could potentially work there. But I mean, in Taiwan, the salaries are pretty low.
Oh.
I think even lower than Japan. And it's also weird, working for your father and stuff. So I would prefer working somewhere else, obviously. But I mean, yes, if nothing works out, I think I would have a place there. Yeah.
Well, I hope it works out here.
Yeah, I think so.
Not because I think Vienna is the center of the world, but since you are moved in, you like it, and you're doing this university investment. So it's worth trying it all the way to the end, and also see how what you're learning now applies in the job market, which you are already working, right?
Yes.
You're freelancing for a company, right? So it has already started to move. So
yeah, and the nice thing is the place where I'm freelancing, they're also remote, so I could actually do it from anywhere I want.
Great.
So I hope I can stay there for a longer time, because then I could
move to Spain or Portugal.
Exactly. Like after I finish my master's, I could maybe go to Spain or Portugal for like a couple of years, and then go to Greece or wherever, right? All those places. Honestly, if I could, I would want to live like everywhere, like for 6 months, 1 year, just to experience it, just like what I did with Japan.
Yeah, that's great. That's the dream.
Yeah.
Now everyone has a remote job that pays enough at least, so you can afford an Airbnb in another country for 6 months. Yeah. And the fortune is that most probably you will be able to afford an Airbnb for 6 months in a country that is very poor, which means that we go there with our nice salaries, but those people are basically just buying bread and butter with what we are paying them for the Airbnb. But that's the way it is, and that's the way it has always been, and it will always be like this, unfortunately. I don't think these things will change quite often. Every now and then you have another war that will destroy things. They will start all over again. It's in the human nature to be destructive somehow. Would you want to say something in Japanese to the Japanese people living in Vienna? Just say something like, let's meet up or something. I don't know. I really want to know how it sounds when you say it, not just from TV.
But I just want to let you know it's not perfect Japanese, right? Like conversational Japanese with thousands of mistakes. But konnichiwa, 僕はレオンです。僕今ね、ウィーンに住んでて、日本人の友達を探してます。ちょっと日本語僕の喋る日本語をもっとよくやりたいし、
tell him to visit theinternational.at.
Yes. あと、今ね、アリオン、The International を作ってるプラットフォームで、なんか、イベントを探すとき、インターナショナルものをしたいときとか、他の日本人を会いたいとき、このプラットフォームを使えばできると思います。
Awesome. Awesome. Definitely better than my German.